Welcome back to another episode of the Blitzing Glory podcast. On today's show, we are going to give you my week one results from our MVP chart, as well as recapping all of the college football games from Thursday through Sunday, and also previewing tonight's North Carolina TCU game, as well as my pick for tonight's TCU North Carolina game. Let's get into our recapping our MVP chart from week one. And I will tell you, we hit a home run on the MVP chart. As you see, we start over with the picks against the spread. We went undefeated on picks against the spread. We went 4-0 on that. And if you want to know our record, I will get it to you in a second. But Buffalo covered, Jacksonville State covered, East Carolina covered, Western Michigan covered. 4-0 there. Now, it was a couple of those games were ugly. Like Jacksonville State and UCF was ugly. I'm surprised there wasn't more scoring in that game. Buffalo, Minnesota, there was decent amount of scoring in that game. And Western Michigan barely covered. If Michigan State would have scored another touchdown, that would have been an L. We go over to money line now. 3-1 in the money line. Our only loss in the money line was Miami of Ohio over Wisconsin. That was the only money line pick we did not get in week one. Then we go over to our locks, MVP locks. We got everyone right except for FAU. And this is a lesson for us. Because we took FAU at 79% to beat Maryland. Did it work? Absolutely not. FAU got shut out. And then we had the other one, and I know it's in blue, but it's still a win, is Mississippi State 65.5% chance to beat Southern Miss. And it worked. It hit. Now we get to the game picks. And we split. We went 2-2 on game picks. We got Boise State. We got South Florida right. We got LSU right. We lost to UCLA and we lost Virginia Tech. So with that being said, our record after week one for the MVP chart was 12-4. 4-0 on picks against the spread, 3-1 on our locks, 3-1 on money line, 2-2 on game picks. Now we go over to our college football 2025 picks chart, and we go to game picks. 3-1 on game picks. The only game pick we did not get right this week was Ball State and Purdue. Purdue looked good against Ball State, and I will get all the games. I will give you my full thoughts and opinions on in a minute. Picks against the spread. The only one we missed was UMass plus 2.5 against Temple. As you see, 3-1 there. And same with our over-under. 3-1 on the over-under picks. The only one we missed was Ohio State and Texas. I think if we would have took the under, we would have been undefeated. It's the same thing with UMass. If we would have took the opposite, if we would have took Temple to cover, but it's picks against the spread, which means we have to pick the team that's the underdog. And our record there was 8-3. And our season combined record between both charts right now, 19-7, 71% correct picks. Now, and I will have my MVP chart out we will have our MVP week 2 chart out on tomorrow afternoon, as well as our rankings. Now, we get to, so we start with the Thursday games. And you see Jacksonville State and UCF. This, as you can see, was not a pretty game. The bright spot is Taven Jackson for UCF, though. 2 touchdowns. Let's see, box score. So the box score. We look at, first of all, we look at Jacksonville State. We look at UCF. Taven Jackson, 17-24, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns. 58% QBR rating, 58.2. I don't know what. I have zero clue what UCF was doing, why they played 2 quarterbacks. Taven Jackson should be the starting quarterback the rest of the year. Cam Fancher went 5 for 9 for 32 yards. Ugly offense is showing for UCF. Other than, look, I give Taven Jackson credit. Almost 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. And let's look at the rushing. Fancher had 4 carries for 39 yards. Miles Montgomery, 21 carries, 79 yards. Almost 4 yards per carry. That is good. The problem is, look at Cam Fancher. On 4 carries, he averaged almost 10 yards. Almost 10 yards. That's really good. I think that's why UCF is doing this 2 quarterback system. Receiving, as you see, it was ugly. Miles Montgomery, 3 catches, 71 yards. DJ Black, 3 for 59 and a touchdown. The guy I'm looking at is the guy that caught the other touchdown, Dylan Wade. 4 catches, 51 yards and a touchdown. If you're a UCF fan, he going through the rest of the season, he is one of my sleeper wideouts for UCF. I think he's going to be in for a big season. And then we get over to this Jacksonville State side. With Jacksonville State, you can't trust a team that's starting Gavin Wimsatt. I know he went 15-29 for 139 yards, but he threw a pick, and look at his QBR rating, 39.7. I'm telling you right now, one of these 2 teams is going to be the worst in their conference, whether it be UCF or whether it be Jacksonville State. Gavin Wimsatt on 139 yards rushing. Cam Cook, the former, I believe he was at Northwestern, the former Northwestern running back. 17 carries, 75 yards, almost 4.5 yards per rush. That is, and his longest rush of the day was 24 yards. That's not bad. Gavin Wimsatt, but the problem is, if you have your quarterback running the ball 13 times, you're not going to win a lot of games. And I think that's going to be the problem with Jacksonville State this year, is they're not going to win a lot of games because their quarterback's probably going to have to run the ball a lot. And then you're receiving. Cam Cook was the lone bright spot in the receiving game, too. 4 catches, 43 yards. DeAndre Johnson, 2 catches, 35 yards. Brock Retschemeyer, 3 catches for 34 yards. Andrew Payne only had 1 catch. Franklin Barrett Jr., 2 catches. Pearson Baldwin, 2 catches. And 2 catches for 3 yards for Caleb Combs. That is pitiful. Overall, I'm going to say I'm more enthused by the UCF side of this game. Next game we get to is South Florida and Boise State. And this was not a good day to be a good night to be a Boise State fan. Start on the USF side. So first of all, I'm actually going to start on the defensive side of the ball for USF. The USF defense shut down a Boise State team and Maddox Madsen that only had 1 touchdown. But and they held Maddox Madsen under a 50% QBR. That's really good. This new look defense for USF, I think is going to be a problem in the American. I do. But the offense started off slow. They were tied 7-7 going into the second quarter, and then USF pulls a trick play out of their behind. Locklear Hewitt, freshman quarterback, jogs out onto the field on 4th down, and I'm pretty sure he tricked. Boise State wasn't ready for it. They were not ready for the trick play. Locklear Hewitt throws a touchdown pass to Keshawn Singleton. And that's what really sparked the USF offense. The defense played good the entire game. Byron Brown, first game back from injury, 16-24, 210 yards, 58, almost a 60 QBR rating, 58.8. There's a lot to be excited about if you're a USF fan. And then you had Elvin Isaac, 3 carries for 52 yards. Okay. The guy I want to circle, Byron Brown, 14 carries, 43 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. And Byron Brown, he played a heck of a game. You had Contrivius Norton, 7 carries, 15 yards, a touchdown. Sam Franklin got 3 carries. Arcarius Parks got 1 carry, didn't get any yards. Receiving wise, Keshawn Singleton. Well, Chaz Nimrod, 3 catches, 96 yards. I was reasonably surprised how good Nimrod looked in his South Florida debut. Keshawn Singleton, 5 carries, 5 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. He had a really good game. I think he's going to be the number 1 receiver for USF. Norton had 1 catch. Isaac had 1 catch. Rubin had 1 catch. Weston Wolf had a catch. 2 catches for Joshua Porter. Wyatt Sullivan had 1 catch. And now we get to the Boise State side. You can clearly tell that Boise State, and I'm going to say this in all fairness, you can tell Boise State really missed a guy, Ashton Genty. Maddox Madsen, you're not going to win a game. I'm going to say this. You're not going to win a game throwing the ball 46 times. And that's how many times Maddox Matson threw the ball. He threw it 46 times for 225 yards and a TD. I do like the running game for Boise State. I thought Sierra Gaines, 99 carries, 44 yards. I thought he had a really good game. He had some good runs. So did Maddox Matson, 11 carries for 31 yards. I thought both of those guys played really well. And I also thought that Malik Sherrod played good too. 11 carries for 27 yards. But Gaines is the only one that had a good average per carry at almost 5 yards per rush. And then you got Boise State, they kind of spread the ball around. Caples had 58 yards receiving. Ford had 44 yards. Lauder had 35 yards receiving. Bates had 33. 20 from Quentin Brown. Chris Marshall had 19 yards. Sierra Gaines had 17. I'll tell you this. I think Boise State fans, don't let this game, don't let it let you down. You played, in a way, you did play good. Ben Ford was your bright spot in this game. The kid showed out. I think he's going to be a top flight receiver in the Mountain West. Takeaways from Rutgers and Ohio. Is Rutgers really this bad? They were up 24-10 going into the half. Didn't score any points in the third quarter. And then gave up 14 in the third quarter. And then got a field goal in the fourth. Or is Ohio, even without Tim Albin, is Ohio still going to be a good team in the MAC? I think we really need to reconsider where we are going to rank, where we're putting Rutgers. Because I think we're overvaluing Rutgers, even after 1 week. Bowling Green and Lafayette. Bowling Green, they should have beaten Lafayette by a lot more than just 26-7. I don't know what to say. East Carolina, North Carolina State. You see that North Carolina State raced out to a 17-0 lead before East Carolina scored a touchdown in the second quarter. Didn't score anything in the third, but North Carolina State added on in the third quarter to make it 24-7. And then East Carolina scored 10 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to make it a closer game. And Caden Hauser, 366 yards. I'm telling you right now, look out for my week 2 MVP chart because North Carolina State might be on it. Delaware State. I mean, hey, nice win for Delaware. Their first win as an FBS program. Delaware State, Deshaun Jackson, don't hang your head. You played a good game. Delaware was just a better team today. And I think Delaware might be a sleeper team in the Conference USA, even though they can't go to a bowl game this year. St. Francis and Louisiana Monroe. easy here. Good win to start the season for UL Monroe. And they didn't give up any points. They shut them out. Now we're going to get to a couple games that are, well, Wyoming and Akron. I don't know who watched this game. It was horrible. As you see, only 10 points combined between the two teams, which was a field goal and a touchdown in the fourth quarter for Wyoming. The field goal came in the second quarter. The touchdown came in the fourth. If you were betting on this game, I would easily have taken Wyoming to cover, and I would have taken the under. I am sorry, but I think Akron and Wyoming are going to be the two of the worst teams in the country this year. We get down to Missouri, and Missouri played two quarterbacks in this game against Central Arkansas. Bo Pabula, as you see, 293 yards and 2 touchdowns, 22 of 28. Had a good game. Ahmad Hardy, 100 yards rushing on 19 carries. And Johnson had 5 catches, 134 yards and a touchdown for Missouri. This game is over by halftime. Missouri scored 9 points in the first quarter, 17 in the second, 14 in the third, 21 in the fourth. This had no. Central Arkansas had no chance. Elon and Duke, same thing. Elon tried to hang around for a little bit, but I like Darian Mitchell. 3 TDs, 389 yards, and it was a bludgeoning. And Duke's receiver had 100 yards receiving. UT Martin and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State survived. Zane Flores, 13 to 20, 134 yards. Hicks, 21 carries, 56 yards. And Davis, 2 catches for 79 yards. As you can see, it was. I'm saying it was all defense in this game. Minnesota Buffalo, another game that was ugly. Drake Lindsey had a good game now. Almost 300 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. And Darius Taylor, 30 carries for 141 yards. That's a really good game. And Smith for Minnesota. Where are we at? We were on. That's my fault, ladies and gentlemen. We were on. Hold up, let me get back to where we were. Yes. We were talking about right here, Minnesota and Buffalo. And I'm actually going to go look at the box score real quick. See. Okay, so that's defensively. So we've already talked about, well, and then you had AJ Turner for Minnesota. 6 carries, 16 yards. Jalen Smith, 2 catches, 76 yards and a touchdown. And you had Jamison Gears, 4 for 38 and a touchdown. I think those are going to be the 2 main receivers for Minnesota this year. Buffalo. Taquan Roberson, 1 touchdown, 170 yards passing. LJ Henderson had 25 yards rushing. Victor Snow had 5 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. Okay, yeah, that's all good. And I think he's the bright spot here for Buffalo and a loss. Where were we? No, we were Houston and Stephen F. Austin, 27-0 Houston. Self-explanatory. Okay. Alabama State UAB. First of all, before I give my thoughts, how do you get Trent Dilfer? How do you give up 42 points to an FCS team? Please explain yourself. That makes zero sense. But you did score 50. I give you credit. Alabama State's quarterback threw 4 touchdowns and had 300 yards passing. That is crazy. Jackson for UAB, 2 touchdowns and 166 yards. I don't know how Trent Dilfer still has a job. Nebraska and Cincinnati. This game was wild. Dylan Raiola had 2 touchdowns. Hunter for Nebraska had 6 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown. Nebraska survives. And a heads up, you might see them in the rankings tomorrow. I don't know. You'll have to wait and see. Cincinnati. We talked about this all preseason. We said Cincinnati was not going to be good. And I understand that somehow they made this a game and almost beat Nebraska. But Nebraska, like I said, they slipped by. Tooth and nail, barely won. Now we get to Miami of Ohio and Wisconsin. I think this just proves to me. Danny O'Neal had the only touchdown for... Danny O'Neal had the only passing touchdown for Wisconsin. I am sorry to say this. I don't think Wisconsin is going to be good. And I think I overestimated them. I think Luke Fickell is on the hot seat, and he might get canned. Even if Wisconsin's 3 or 4-0, because you know they play Ohio State this year, and they're going to probably lose to Ohio State. Stony Brook and San Diego State. Easy here. San Diego State. Jaden Daigle. 270 yards passing and a touchdown. That's good. Sutton for San Diego State. 100 yards rushing and 2 TDs. And you had Bostick. 3 catches, 53 yards and a touchdown. Okay. We get to Friday. Simple. These first... Okay. I will talk about Tarleton State and Army in a second because I don't know how you lose. But Illinois State and Illinois. Western Illinois and Illinois. Illinois looked really good. Luke Altmaier, 3 TDs, 217 passing. And then your top receiver, Betty, 5 catches, 108 yards. Nothing else to really say about that game. Army and Tarleton State. Jeff Monken, we need to have a conversation. How do you lose a double overtime to Tarleton State? 30-27. Please explain. You were favored to, at least from what I saw, going into this game, you were favored by more than 99% to beat Tarleton State. Did you just prove to everybody that Army, thank you for your service though, to all the men and women in our armed forces, but football-wise, did you just prove to everybody that last year was a fluke by losing to an FCS school? I believe you did. Michigan State, Western Michigan. Aiden Childs was dropping dimes in this game. Michigan State's going to be scary, ladies and gentlemen. I would be worried if you're a Michigan fan. And in Western Michigan, not good. I don't think Western Michigan is going to be good this year. And I was probably wrong on them in the preseason. Okay, now we get to a game that was boring. Kennesaw State, Wake Forest. 10-9. I mean, if your quarterback is Robbie Ashford, you're not in good shape. Robbie Ashford, just ask Auburn fans. Robbie Ashford is not a good quarterback. I don't know why he keeps getting chances. He is not good. He is not that good of a quarterback. App State and Charlotte. We had the under in this game. And as you saw on our chart, the under hit. AJ Swan for App State. 3 TDs, 368 yards passing. I like that. Charlotte. The thing with Charlotte, though, is I know what Charlotte fans are going to say in the comments. They're going to say, oh, yeah, it's one game. I'm more confident in Charlotte being a sleeper in the American this year than I was last year with Biff Poggi as their coach. They got a new coaching staff now, and I think the demeanor has changed. Wagner and Kansas. Simple here. Jalen Daniels is back. Almost 285 yards passing and 4 passing TDs. 2 of them to Henderson, who had 130 yards receiving. Baylor and Auburn. I think we need to get serious about Auburn. Ladies and gentlemen. I think they found their quarterback at Jackson Arnold. You see by the stats, 16 carries, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's good. Sawyer Robertson had a good game too. 419 yards, 3 passing touchdowns on 27 of 48 attempts. Both of these teams are going to, I'm going to say it right, I'm going to be real bullish on Auburn right now. I think both of these teams are going to end up near the top of their conference. Georgia Tech, Colorado. I think the fall off, the Colorado, Caden Salter, I don't think he's going to last the entire season as the starting quarterback at Colorado. I think he's going to hear me out and listen, ladies and gentlemen. I think Caden Salter is going to get benched halfway through the season for Julian Lewis. Now we get to the Georgia Tech side. Georgia Tech played a heck of a game here. I know they almost choked the game away at the end, but they won. Because Caden Salter doesn't know how to get out of bounds. And Prime should be ashamed. FIU and Bethune-Cookman, as you see, FIU might be sneaky in the CUSA this year. UNLV and Sam Houston. Dan Mullen. Developmental Dan, as some people call him. Anthony Calandria. 249 yards and 2 touchdowns. Okay. We might be on to something. And for Sam Houston, I really don't know what to say because I feel like Sam Houston is just, they're not going to be that good this year. They lost their head coach. He's now coaching somewhere else. So therefore, they might win 4 or 5 games. San Jose State, and Central Michigan. This was another game we had on the chart, not MVP, but the picks chart. And I'm going to say with full confidence, I think Central Michigan is going to be better than everybody thinks. San Jose State, okay, they could be good, or this could be just a little speed bump. But they got Texas next week, and I will get to that in a second, but I don't think Texas is not going to be happy. We get to the Saturday games. Ohio State, Texas. And most people are going to say that this was a pathetic showing by Arch Manning. Arch, for what it's worth, and I know I'm looking at the Texas side of it first, but I feel like I have the right to. Arch has never seen a Matt Patricia defense. And Matt Patricia put on a master class on defense on Saturday. And if you were going to tell me it was only going to be 14-7 Ohio State, I would have looked at you and said, there's no way there's only going to be there's no way Texas's defense is going to hold Ohio State under 21 points. Well, I guess there's always the chance that we're wrong. And I was wrong about that. And I want to give Greg McElroy credit. On SportsCenter last week, he said he thinks that Texas's defense would hold Ohio State under 21 points. And he was right. So I give him credit for that. But Ohio State's defense, don't get it twisted. Ohio State's defense played, for being the first game of the season, played a really good defensive game. They had Arch Manning all out of whack. They played straight up coverage across the board with Caleb Downs lurking in the backfield. If Ohio State plays defense like this the entire season, watch out. And Texas fans, pump the brakes. It's one game. I think Arch is going to be fine. It is one game. Penn State and Nevada. And Penn State. Penn State should have won this game by more. 46-11. Yes. Okay. Gave up 11 points. That just shows, okay, you do have a good defense. But against Big Ten conference opponents, is it going to be your defense that steps up, or is it going to be Drew Aller? Because everybody's saying Drew Aller is a first-round pick. I don't see it after one game. And I understand it's one game. If it's more than one game, then yes. If he can continue to put together good games, totally can see Penn State being in the Big Ten championship game, maybe against Ohio State or Michigan. And we'll get to Michigan's game in a second because I need to make an apology to all the Michigan fans. LSU Clemson. This was a really good game. This was a good game. Garrett Nussmeier, 230 yards passing and a touchdown. Caleb Durham for LSU, 17 carries, 74 yards and a touchdown. I think the takeaway here is both these teams are going to be good. Don't sell your stock on Clemson yet. Do not. And same with Texas. These LSU is a good team, and so is Clemson. Georgia and Marshall. I'm scared to say this. I think Georgia might be back. Their running game looked good. Gunnar Stockton, okay. I admit I'm wrong. I was wrong on Gunnar Stockton. I didn't think he'd be this good in one game. And I mean, yes, it is against Marshall. So there's that element of this. But and Zion Branch, Zachariah Branch, I think it is, had 3 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown. But the thing I want to point out here, Gunnar Stockton had 4 total touchdowns, 2 passing and 2 rushing. Which, yes, I know he didn't start that many games. He only started 1 game last year. No, 2. He started the SEC Championship and he started the playoff game because Carson Beck got hurt. But this Georgia team looks scary, and if they can run the ball consistently, the entire SEC might be in trouble. And everybody was saying, "Oh, Georgia's vulnerable this year. This is the year to beat them." We might want to rethink that. Dante Moore in Oregon, 59-13 win over Montana State. They didn't. We saw last year how they struggled with Idaho. They opened the season this year looking strong. Dante Moore, 3 TDs and only 200 passing yards, 213. Not bad. Noah Whittington, 10 carries, 68 yards and a touchdown. Okay. And then Dante Moore looked impressive. I'll say that. Now, Florida State, Alabama. And we had Florida State money line on our MVP chart last week. And I kept hearing from people, oh, why are you putting Florida State on there? They're going to get mollywopped by Alabama. Well, who came out to play? Florida State did. And now who looks like geniuses? We do. Because we had Florida State money line. And Florida State ended up winning. I want to say this. Thomas Castellanos lived up to, he walked the walk and talked the talk. 78 yards rushing and a TD. Ty Simpson played pretty good. Jeremy Bernard had a really good game. 100 yards receiving. Arizona State, we're gonna breeze. Okay, we won't breeze through Michigan, but Arizona State played really good. Sam Levitt, 2 TDs. Sam Levitt, 2 rushing TDs. Jordan Tyson, 2 receiving TDs. Michigan fans, I want you to listen very closely. I was wrong on Bryce Underwood. I know it's 1 game, but I'm going to admit right now, I was wrong on him. He looked the part. He looked like he was not a freshman quarterback last night. On Saturday night when Michigan played New Mexico. And Marlon Klein, he might be the next good tight end from Michigan. And Justice Haynes, not 1, not 2, 3 rushing touchdowns. Okay, maybe Michigan does beat Ohio State this year. But this is just 1 game. And the only issue I have is, why did y'all let New Mexico score 17 points? You should have had at least 40. That's my only issue. But Michigan's defense also does look really good. Now we get to Florida and Long Island University. Simple here. Florida looked like the good team. And Jones Jr. had 2 TDs and 131 yards passing. I'm guessing that means Lagway only played like a half. Same year at SMU. Kevin Jennings, 2 TDs. Johnson Jr. touchdown. And Romello Brunson, a touchdown on 7 catches, 121 yards. Okay, Kansas State fans, you might want to be a little worried. Only beating the North Dakota by 3, and it took a last-minute touchdown to do it. And then again, Avery Johnson, another good game passing. 318 and 3 TDs. And Jace Brown, a touchdown on 109 yards catching on 12 catches. That's good. Oklahoma, little tune-up game before they welcome Michigan to to Norman this week. And I will be calling the Michigan-Oklahoma game here on YouTube. UTSA and Texas A&M. Simple here. Texas. Marcel Reed was a beast. 4 TDs and 300 yards passing. Almost 300 yards passing. He had 289. I want to shout out Robert Henry Jr. on UTSA. He made the Texas A&M defense, especially the linebackers and DBs, look silly. 16 carries, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then you had Texas A&M wide receiver Mario Craver, 122 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. Indiana and Old Dominion. I think we're in for another good season for Indiana. Same thing with Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is going to be good. Iowa State, easy game. Texas Tech. I need to talk to Texas Tech fans. Not about the game, but you were up 46-0 and you had a weather delay. Why didn't you just stop the game? You were winning. It didn't really matter. As you see, 67-7. That's crazy. Okay, Tennessee. And Tennessee fans, I want to know your honest thoughts about week 1 in the comments of this episode. And need I mention before I get to Tennessee, you can find this on this podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast from, whether it's Spotify or YouTube, by searching Blitz and Glory Podcast. Back to the show, though. Back to the episode. Tennessee and Syracuse. Okay. I'm going to say this. Star Thomas had a good game, and so did Staley for Tennessee. But the guy that stood out to me was Joey Aguilar, a guy that got on campus 3 or 4 months ago, take into account, and didn't know the playbook, and he looked like he was a veteran in that Tennessee offense. Really good game from him. It's just crazy that Tennessee, I'm not going to say almost blew it, but Syracuse tried to make a comeback. Mississippi State, Southern Miss. Southern Miss fans, don't be disappointed. And if you have Southern Miss stock, do not sell it. I still think they're going to be good. Mississippi State, this might just be the start of them pulling a Indiana. Maryland, FAU. Okay, maybe we were wrong on Maryland. Same with Purdue, even though I did say in a prior video that I think Purdue's going to win 6 games. Northwestern is going to be probably horrible this year. Tulane might be one of those G5 teams that sneaks into the playoff. Pitt, and same thing with Navy. Both of them had easy games and they won. Same with Kent State against Merrimack, even though it was 21. Kentucky. Could we be wrong on Kentucky? Dante Dowdle, 129 yards rushing and a touchdown. Okay. Fordham and Boston College. 66-10 for Boston College. Longergan. Dylan Longergan. 4 TDs, 4 passing touchdowns. Boston College might be one of those sneaky teams in the ACC. Robert Morris in West Virginia. This game was ugly for Robert Morris. Same thing with Connecticut and Central Connecticut. Louisville, same thing. Air Force, yeah. Temple and UMass. This is the one game we missed on our picks on our. I believe it was. This was one of the games we missed on our MVP chart. But I do think Temple's going to be better than people think. Northern Illinois and Holy Cross. Northern Illinois barely won, but that's neither here nor there. Liberty, okay. All these games, yes. Okay, Iowa, 34 points. That's the most points I've seen Iowa score in a long time. Mark Gronowski might be the savior of Iowa. Virginia and Coastal Carolina. This game was ugly. UVA did win. Coastal Carolina, I think, is going to be fine. James Madison won. Charles Vanderbilt. Austin Peay beat Middle Tennessee 34-14. Whoever Middle Tennessee's coaches should be fired. That is embarrassing. And it says FCS Austin Peay defeats Middle Tennessee for its first win over FBS team since 1987. I don't think I need to repeat myself. That's embarrassing. Western Kentucky 55-6. Arkansas State 42-24. South Alabama. Poor Missouri State. Their first game in the FBS. They get. I'm sorry if I'm laughing, but they get steamrolled 73-13. Jaden Maeva had a good game. Makai Lemon had a good game too. Rice. We're going to do a couple more, and then I'm going to give you my 5 takeaways from week 1. We're going to do 3 more games. So Rice and Louisiana. Louisiana was really good last year in the Sun Belt. I think Rice, we might be sleeping on Rice. I know we're not supposed to pick up food to win a conference, but Rice might be the real deal. EMU and Texas State. Obviously, look at Texas State. They beat the brakes off of Eastern Michigan. And I think the last game we're going to go over is Virginia Tech and South Carolina. Virginia Tech, they scored 11 points. Kyron Jones did have 2 interceptions. South Carolina does have a good defense, so I'm not worried about them yet. And now you're going to get my pick and some keys to the North Carolina TCU. TCU, North Carolina. And it's in Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The line is the spread is -3.5 in favor of TCU. Total is 54.5. Here's some keys for North Carolina to pull off the upset. Play clean football. Don't fumble. Don't have costly penalties. And my pick is North Carolina plus the 3.5 to cover and win outright. And my 5 takeaways from week 1 of college football are: number 5, don't sell your stock on Clemson, Texas, Boise State. Those 3 teams. Don't sell your stock on them. Number 4, Gunnar Stockton might be a sleeper candidate for the Heisman. Number 2, I think Ohio State is going to have one of the best defenses in college football. And my number 1 takeaway is the days of the SEC being the number 1 conference might be done. And ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to say this again before we sign off, is we offer merch here at the Blitz and Glory podcast, as well as we also offer memberships. Cheapest membership is 99 cents a month. And be sure to go follow the podcast over on Spotify at Blitz and Glory. That's what you do to look it up. I will see everybody back here tomorrow for our week 2 MVP chart and our week 2 top 25. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday.